Folks, we're back with an intro for UFC Vegas 88. We haven't had one in a couple of weeks, but the reason I wanted to say this is that it's an Apex card. And folks, we usually do really well on these Apex cards, better than we do on the other shows. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just maybe I just have a better read on the Apex cards. I don't understand why, but I do. So we're going to crush this one this week. I'm telling you now, UFC Vegas 88 is going to be a stellar week for us on the channel. Guys, all the links to everything are in the description. Let's get right into the bantamweights. Chad Anheliger takes on Charalampos Grigoriou. Grigoriou 4-1 in the last 5 fights, 3-2 for Anheliger. There is another matchup here where we've got the height and reach to be significant, right? I don't think that this can be correct at 76.5-inch reach, but if it is, that's crazy. That dude has some crazy long arms for being 5'7". But that's what it said online. So I'm going to put it up there, and if that's correct, then that's correct. But I know he's going to have a bigger reach than a guy like Chad Anheliger, who has a very tiny reach at 64 inches. He's 5'6", so only an inch in height difference, but the 64-inch reach is wild for a guy at 135 pounds. He's going to have a disadvantage there, regardless of if this is accurate. It's probably not, but either way, even if he has a reach of 67 inches, which is what is equal to his height, it's still going to be an advantage. So let's put it that way. He's the younger guy at 31. Anheliger is 37, and at bantamweight, that's getting up there. But in this matchup, Anheliger's got the UFC experience, whereas Grigoriou is making his debut after the Contender Series, of course. He does have good striking, Grigoriou does. Good power, good combinations, but that leg kick, my goodness, that leg kick is nasty. He's finished multiple fights with that leg kick, and I do like that as his best weapon on the feet. As far as his grappling, he will mix in takedowns, and he's a bit of a grinder when he mixes in the takedowns. He doesn't do much with it. He just grinds guys out, wears on them, and uses it to kind of break them down. He will do that in his fights, especially in the matchups where the guys are just giving him takedowns. Now, for Anheliger, decent striking. He's going to come forward. He's got good pressure, pretty decent power. Not like one shot put your lights out, but like one shot will really crack you and he can follow it up. He's got good combinations as well. Decent grappling. He has mostly offensively. Defensively, it's laxed, but he does have decent takedowns. His takedown defense isn't there, and his submission defense is very poor. In fact, that's how he loses most of his fights. In fact, 6 of his 7 losses are by submission, and that is why I think Charalampos Grigoriou is live for a submission, and I know he's a striker, but Anheliger loses fights by submission. I don't know what the lines are. When I'm recording this, the props haven't dropped for this. I'm going to take Grigoriou just to win. I'm not mega confident in the pick just because it is, it's a big step up for him to come into the UFC, etc. But I kind of like the submission. So let's take Charalampos Grigoriou, and if he gets a submission, you can come back to the channel and say you heard it here first. Maybe I'll throw like $2 on it just to see what happens. It's probably a stupid line. So you heard it here first, folks. Grigoriou's submission is going to be my official prediction. We're going to stick with it. I'll see you guys next. We have McKenna taking on Jacqueline Amorim. Amorim is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Likewise for McKenna. Both of these ladies are 5'3", but there is a significant reach advantage of 9.5 inches for Amorim. She is 68 inches in the reach, whereas 58.5-inch reach for McKenna. I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, it was last week when we were watching, Despain fight, and I was just thinking, wow, McKenna is the shortest reach in the UFC, and Despain it has the longest reach in the UFC, and as wild as it is to think, like, Despain could, like, hold McKenna by the top of her head, the bottom of her feet, like this. Not like, but like this. I know that seems weird, but, like, it's just crazy, the size difference between the biggest and the smallest person in the UFC. I don't know. It just blew my mind. Maybe you guys don't find that as weird as I do. Either way, for Amorim, we're back on track. She's a powerful striker with good forward pressure, but she swings kind of wild, and it's not the cleanest of striking. Her jiu-jitsu is where her bread gets buttered, though. She's got a very high level of jiu-jitsu, and she's got a large toolbox, and she's incredibly aggressive on the mat. Her takedowns are pretty good. She recently started adding the ground and pound, which she did at the last fight. It worked out really well for her, but she will aggressively attack submissions as well. Cardio has failed her in the past, and that I do think she's going to be at a disadvantage in this matchup because McKenna will keep going the whole fight, no problem. McKenna, good striker, good combinations, and she closes the distance very well. She's gotten used to it because she's always going to have the shorter reach. Nobody's got a shorter reach than this girl in the entire UFC. So she had to get used to closing the distance, and she does it pretty well. But she does get hit at range due to her size. Now, the thing is, Amorim's not throwing clean, long, rangy straights. she's throwing big looping shots and gets a little bit wild. I think that's going to be in the advantage of McKenna because those looping shots don't have as much range as the straight. The big loops, big straights, loops, straights, straights. Those are going to be better for someone to hit, to use their range or reach advantage. McKenna's going to be able to get in close, and I think she might eat one or two, but it's not going to be just getting pieced up and her face jabbed off. She's got good wrestling as well with very powerful takedowns, and I think if she wants to mix this in after the first round, I think she's totally good to go, and I think she'll be able to stay on top with her good top pressure and not get subbed. However, in the first round, Amorim is going to be live for a submission. I do think Cory McKenna wins this one. I think she probably takes it by decision or maybe even a late finish just because she's able to maintain top control, wear out Amorim, and eventually get her to turtle up to some ground and pound. Cory McKenna's the pick. I feel pretty good about it. Let me know what you have, and I'll see you in the next. There are two fights on this card that I've really gone back and forth on my pick, and it wasn't clear who I wanted. This is one of them. I'm really struggling with this one. We have Danny Silva taking on Josh Culibao in the 145-pound division. This is a tricky fight for me. Now, maybe it's tricky for you. Let me know in the comments if it is, or maybe it's not. Maybe you're just stuck on a side and you think it's an easy one. Danny Silva, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights, 3-1 and a draw for Culibao. Danny Silva, we saw him in the Contender Series in a just absolute barn burner of a fight, and that's kind of making me worry because a barn burner of a fight against non-UFC level competition. But then again, maybe it was UFC level competition. We just didn't know it yet. It's tricky, right? That's what gives me the hesitance on Danny Silva. But he's a good striker. He does have very good forward pressure, tons of volume. The head movement's there. The movement on the feet is there. And he's got really good ability to work the body. We saw him ripping the body so well in that matchup on the Contender Series. And we've seen him do that on the rest of his regional scene as fights as well. Does have decent takedown defense. If he does get taken down, he's going to work right back up to his feet as quickly as possible. For Culibao, good striker, got good power. The leg kick is probably one of his better weapons as well. He can fight from either stance, but he does get hit quite a bit. And it's not something you want against a guy like Danny Silva. Dude's a decent grappler, though. He's got good takedown defense and very heavy ground and pound if he gets on top. Recently, we saw him get his first submission win. So he's shown that he has the ability to do the grappling probably a little bit better in this situation. Not for sure. We haven't seen a ton of Danny Silva grappling. He doesn't really choose to do it often. But the grappling probably goes to Culibao. In the striking, I think it's a close fight. And I'm going to pick Danny Silva, gosh darn it. And I was on Culibao earlier, and then I was on Danny Silva, and then I thought, dude, you're being dumb. Dude's coming off the Contender Series. You can't be betting all these guys coming off the Contender Series. And then I said, you know what? Dude, you don't have to bet this fight. Kick your feet up on the coffee table, crack open an ice cold root beer, kick back and enjoy this fight, and pick Danny Silva like you want to. So gosh darn it, we're taking Danny Silva. We're going to drink a root beer to this one. Like the video. I'll see you guys next. We have a short notice matchup where Mitch Ramiriez steps in at 155 pounds to take on Thiago Moises. Mitch Ramiriez, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, which looks way better than the 2-3 for Moises. However, you need to take into account the level of competition. Ramiriez lost on the Contender Series, and that's that one loss, whereas Moises has been losing to some of the best in the world. So the record is a little bit saltier, if you know what I mean. But I do think that the 4-1 in the last 5 fights is an impressive number to have. It is still hard to beat lower level competition consistently. He has done a good job, and that's earned him a spot in this matchup. However, like I said, Moises, 2-3 in his last 5. He's only got 7 losses on the career. So those losses didn't start coming until he got to the higher level of the competition. For Mitch Ramiriez, dude's a decent striker. He's got a good leg kick. That is his best weapon, but he does struggle to close the distance. He has a hard time getting in close and landing on guys, and I think he's going to have trouble in this matchup because he does struggle with that, and he's taking it on short notice against a guy like Moises. We'll cover his skills in a second. However, Mitch Ramiriez, if he does get in close, he's a good wrestler. And once he gets on top, he is an absolute grinder and will grind you out from the top position. And I don't think he's going to have trouble in this matchup to keep the top position because Moises is very active from his back and likes to stay there. Now, let's cover Moises. I already covered the jiu-jitsu a little bit. We're going to break it down a little more. Very solid there with a large toolbox, but he's very active from his back and can be willing to sit there and look for stuff for a bit. He does have the ability to reverse position, and he does have good scrambles if he can just create them in this matchup. I do think he's going to be better everywhere on the ground except for the fact that he's going to be on the bottom a lot of the time. So I think that could be a problem for him if he is, giving up takedowns to Ramiriez. However, on the feet, I don't know that he's going to. He does lack volume, which is a problem, but he's a decent striker otherwise. He's got very good kicks, and he can put together combinations that are clean. The problem is the volume isn't always there. I think Moises wins this one at a pretty high clip, and I don't think that's crazy to say. The short notice guy stepping in against a very high-level UFC veteran, it's And then one that's not even old. Like the dude's like, what, 29 or something like that? So Thiago Moises is the pick, and it's a pretty easy one to make. Let me know what you have, though. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Up, we've got Osbourne taking on Filho in the 125-pound division. Don't know why that took me a minute. Osbourne 3-2 in his last 5 fights, 4-1 for Filho. I think it's how you say it, Filho. Filho is a fast starter. He's got solid jiu-jitsu, large toolbox, and he's going to aggressively attack submissions. To get the fight to the mat, what he does is he gets the body lock, and then from there starts looking for trips and starts trying to drag his opponents to the mat. He's not shooting your classic double legs and single legs most of the time. It's usually get that body lock first and then go for the trip. In the striking department, the guy's a good striker as well. He's got plenty of power, but most of it's in that lead hook. That big bomb that comes from that lead hand, that is his best weapon on the feet. Striking defense isn't exactly there, but he's durable and he can take a shot, so it's not a big deal for him. For Osbourne, or at least not yet in his career anyway. For Osbourne, dude's a good striker with a lot of power on those straights, and he uses his length very well, he uses his range very well, but the problem for him here is these guys are actually the same height, and he only has like a couple of inches of reach advantage, which is not something that Osbourne's used to. Typically, he's going to be the much longer and rangier guy. He's only a couple inches longer on the feet, and the height is the same. He does have a nasty body kick, though. He does that very well, and he does put together good combinations, usually stemming from those straight shots. In the grappling department, he's very active off of his back. He's pretty good overall. Uses that length well, and that he uses that length for things like triangles, and that makes him a bit of a triangle specialist, if you ask me. The triangle is his best weapon off of his back. I don't think he's going to get that here. I think Filho is actually going to be able to use that power to come in and maybe crack Osbourne after eating a few, get the body lock, get the takedown, and get the sub later in this fight. So I'm going to Filho in this matchup. I think he's going to get the submission. I can't tell you what round, but I don't think it's the first. Probably the second, maybe the third. I don't know, but let me know what you have. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. And if you haven't done it yet, like this video. Thank you guys so much. Next, we have a bantamweight matchup between Josiane Nunes and Chelsea Chandler. Chandler's 4-1 in her last 5 fights, 5-0 for Nunes. Now, this is an interesting one because you see the big reach discrepancy, big height discrepancy. Sorry, the reach is very similar, 68 inches to 67 inches. However, there is a big difference in height. Now, 5'8" to 5'2". Now, if you remember, if you've been around the channel for a while, you know that I've broken this down. Reach does not necessarily equal the reach difference, right? Because height plays a big factor. Why is that? Well, the taller person is now punching typically straight forward to hit their opponent in the face when it's a significant reach advantage or height advantage like this. Sorry, I'm getting those mixed up. The reason why is because a shorter person, their head is lower, right? Because they're shorter. But a taller person, their head is still on top of their shoulders. So the shoulders are going to be head level with the person that's shorter by a significant margin, right? And that is a lot easier to punch straight forward than it is to punch up. And also, it makes it so you have more range. If I'm punching this way, my arm is going to extend further that direction than if I'm punching this way. You understand what I'm saying? That's important to know because, yes, Chandler is only a little bit longer in the reach, 1 inch, but the height is 6 inches difference, and that is going to limit the reach of Nunes. Now, all that said, we still have to break down their skills. Chelsea Chandler, decent striking, I guess. She's got good forward pressure, pretty good power. Decent grappling, I guess. She's got good ground and pound. She's very physically strong. That I can say about her for sure. Josiane Nunes, good striker. She's got good power, good volume, closes the distance very well, and she's got a good leg kick. Sometimes she does start swinging wild overhands, and that's a lot of the time because she is going to be shorter than a lot of her opponents. So she's throwing these big wild overhands to close that distance. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it gets a little bit, it doesn't always look the best sometimes, but either way. Her takedown defense isn't the best. It's okay, I guess, but it's she could be taken down, and that if she is on the ground, that's not where she's good. However, there is one girl in this matchup who I have skills for, and the other one who I'm grasping at straws to tell you what I think she's good at, and she's strong. I feel very confident in Josiane Nunes here, and I know a lot of people are on Chelsea Chandler, and I don't know why. I do my best to give every fighter their flowers. I try to say good things about all of them. I struggle to write really good stuff on the Chandler side, and I'm not trying to be mean. I don't think she's ready for the UFC, and I think Josiane Nunes is. Maybe she's not world champion contender, but I think she's ready for the UFC, and I think she's going to win this fight, and I think she's going to do it pretty impressively. So Josiane Nunes is the pick. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments. Do you think I'm a total buffoon? We're going to find out Saturday, but let me know. Mike Davis takes on Natan Levy in the lightweight division. Natan Levy 4-1 in the last 5. So is Mike Davis. Both of these guys have had a bit of a long layoff. So let's get them back into the cage together, right? So Natan Levy, unfortunately, who was that? Pete Rodriguez kept trying to pull out of this guy's fights, and that's what happened. So he's had a longer layoff than he's wanted to, but here he is. He's now fighting Mike Davis. The guy has Levy that has good striking. He's got karate-style kicks. Now, he keeps that nice karate stance on the feet a lot of the time, and he's got those long, rangy karate-style like side kicks and, that quick lead leg stuff, with whether it be the roundhouse kick or the side kick, whatever it may be. He does a very good job with those karate-style kicks. I hope you understand what I'm saying there. Now, with the straight shots, his long jab and then that straight boom just coming through just like that with that straight cross coming back. He does really well there. Things like hooks and uppercuts are kind of non-existent for him because he uses that karate style. So by the time somebody's in the pocket and range for those hooks and uppercuts, it's too late. So, but it is what it is. He'd prefer to grapple a lot of the time anyway, which is strange because he's probably I'd say he's a higher level striker than he is grappler, but he does seem to prefer the grappling. On the feet, though, he doesn't have a ton of power, and that's kind of a problem for him is the lack of power. We haven't really seen him really, really hurt a lot of people. In the grappling, though, that's probably where he's going to get it done if he can get the fight to the mat in this matchup. He's got good takedowns, his single leg being his best takedown as well. He's quick in the transition. Whenever he sees an opening, he jumps right into it and takes that spot. Does a very good job there, and he does have decent top pressure. He's going against Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a very good striker, uses a lot of like boxing-style combinations while pressuring forward, and he changes his level in combination. Whether he's going high, rips to the body, and comes back up top. That's impressive. Not many people do it, and he does it well. He does work the body with all sorts of attacks, whether that be the punches, the knees, sometimes a kick as well, oftentimes when opponents are exiting the pocket, because he's very nasty in the pocket, and they don't want to be in there. And once he's in that pocket, he's ripping those boxing combinations, and then he ends them with a knee, and he'll throw them in the middle of the combinations or at the end. Does a very good job there. In the grappling, dude's a good wrestler. He's got good takedowns, and they come at the end of his strikes. The guy puts things together very well. Puts his boom, 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 hits that combination, and then boom, shoots that takedown, puts guys on their back. Good ground and pound. He's got good takedown defense as well. Honestly, guys, Mike Davis is winning this fight. I think Natan Levy is a talented fighter. He's very skilled. He's 8-1 in his career for a reason. But I think Mike Davis is going to be too big of a step up for him unless I missed something in the time off that maybe I don't know about. But Mike Davis should win. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you guys in the matchup here. Brian Barberena takes on Gerald Meerschaert. Interesting one. Both guys are 2-3 in their last 5 fights. So it's kind of where are we going to go from here type of thing. This card has just so many fights where the reach and height is just different by a pretty significant margin. We have that here as well. Brian Barberena, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. He's taking on Gerald Meerschaert, who's only an inch taller at 6'1", but has a 77.5-inch reach, which is significant, I would say. In this matchup here for Brian Barberena, what is he good at? It's a brawl. He's excellent in a brawl. He's got a ton of volume, ton of pressure. He'll eat one to give one, and that's what he wants in this matchup specifically, because that's what we've seen from GM3 in a brawl is getting hit. We see him get hit and see him get dropped. So Brian Barberena, good in a brawl, looks straight there. That's where he needs to get this fight. Now, if it gets on the mat, he's not so good. His takedown defense isn't the best, and he can be controlled. However, he does have solid cardio, so even if he gets on the mat, as long as he can survive, he should be okay in the next round. It shouldn't wear him out too bad. For GM3, the dude's a jiu-jitsu guy, right? He has very good jiu-jitsu, very large toolbox, very active from his back. He's very opportunistic with his submissions. However, he's willing to stay there, which can be a problem and can cause him to lose minutes. In the striking, he's decent. He uses his length very well, which is good for him in this matchup because he's got a 5.5-inch reach advantage, that is. Not 5.5-inch reach. That'd be really, really short reach. But he's got a 5.5-inch reach advantage, and he uses that length well, and he's got decent boxing combos that he can use at range. I don't think he's going to be able to stay at range very well. I think Brian Barberena is going to crash that pocket and start landing shots. However, I think as this fight goes on, Meerschaert's going to have a couple opportunities to get that submission. I think he probably gets another GM3 round 3 sub. That's just what he kind of does. And I think this fight has all the makings of it. So I'm going to take Meerschaert. Solid fight here in the women's bantamweight division. Macy Chiasson takes on Pani Kianzad. Kianzad, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Likewise, Chiasson is 3-2 in her last 5. Now, significant height and reach advantage for Chiasson. 5'11 with a 72-inch reach. She's going against Kianzad, who is 5'7 with a 66-inch reach. That is going to be important here because I put this asterisk next to this. We're going to cover that in a minute, but we're going to start on the Chiasson side. But just keep in mind, that's significant. For Chiasson, she's a good striker with volume, and she sticks that jab out there very well. She uses that range incredibly well with that jab. Yes, she can put the two behind it, but the jab is there all the time in your face. She's got good wrestling as well, and mostly the cage push. And the cage push is a different kind of wrestling. You don't see that in your high school wrestling class because we don't have a cage. But in MMA, the MMA style wrestling, that is something that's very important. And Chiasson does a very good job at that, putting her opponent up against the cage and controlling them there, doing just enough to keep herself there and not have to worry about the ref pulling her away. She does have decent takedowns, and if she gets on top, the ground and pound's actually pretty solid. Now, on the other side, Kianzad, she is the better striker, skill for skill. She's got good volume. She works well at range typically, and the reason I don't know that she will in this matchup is right here, and it's very obvious. I think if she's at range for the whole fight with Chiasson, trying to use her ability to stick the jab like she does, use her kicks like she does, and put together combinations at range, I think she's going to have trouble because when she starts doing that, she's going to eat a jab right down the middle and just pop her right in the nose every single time. And I think Chiasson's going to be able to keep that range and do what she needs to do. Kianzad's going to have to change the style, get inside, make the fight a little bit dirtier, which is not something she wants to do, but I think that's what she's going to have to do to land her strikes against Chiasson at a high clip. In the wrestling department, she's got a good cage push as well. I would argue that Chiasson's better. Decent takedown defense for Kianzad. I know that sounds weird to say. It's decent, but when she does get taken down, she has a hard time getting back to her feet. All things said, Macy Chiasson's probably getting the win here, and I think I like that play quite a bit. Macy Chiasson is the pick. Let me know what you have, and I will see you. Find ourselves with Christian Rodriguez taking on Isaac Dulgarian in the featherweight division. Christian Rodriguez was a bantamweight. He doesn't seem to make the weight very well, so he's now up at featherweight. This is his second outing at featherweight, if my memory serves me correctly, at least in UFC. For Isaac Dulgarian, he's undefeated at 6-0, so that makes him 5-0 in his last 5, if you can do the math there. For Rodriguez, he's 4-1 in his last 5, that one loss being the last time he was up at 145 pounds. For Isaac Dulgarian, we don't have a ton of information about him because he's been getting things done in the first round pretty much unanimously here. 6-0, all just crushing guys. In fact, his last matchup against Francis Marshall, he ran that man over, just treated him like he didn't belong. He's a very fast starter, and that shows. He's got very strong wrestling, solid takedown entries, and the single leg might be his best takedown. I could be wrong, but to me, it looks like the single leg might be his best. Dude secures position. He does ground and pound very well. He can go for the submissions as well, but those vicious elbows that he used against Marshall, my goodness, man. This guy is great. He's got good scrambles as well. We don't know a ton about his striking. We haven't seen a lot of it, but I imagine it's set up pretty well from the wrestling threat, so I assume he's going to be able to land shots in matchups. I just don't have enough to feel good about putting anything up here that isn't just gobbledygook, right? On the other side, for Christian Rodriguez, the dude's a good striker. He's got good power. He's got good striking defense as well. He moves well on the feet. He's got good volume, and he puts combinations together, and he likes to end those combinations with kicks. His grappling, solid. Very good submission defense. He can fight his way out of just about anything he gets put in. He's got good sweeps, good scrambles, but his takedown defense is a bit lacking. I understand that Christian Rodriguez has this 10-1 record that looks a lot better than 6-0. And I don't know why, because 6-0, I think it's just, you see a lot of guys get fraud checked, as the young ones say these days, when you're around 6-0. I don't think we're going to see that here. I think this is going to be a good fight, competitive fight, close matchup, and I think Isaac Dulgarian is going to get his hand raised, probably via decision. And I think it's because he's going to be able to win minutes with the takedowns, because we know Rodriguez does get taken down. I don't think he's going to gas out like some of the other fighters that have fought Christian Rodriguez. And I think on the feet, he's going to be able to do well enough there. I think Isaac Dulgarian is going to get this one done. I think he's going to be able to be competitive in the scrambles. Both guys are going to be kind of going back and forth, doing what they need to do. But I think Dulgarian is going to get the edge. So give me Isaac Dulgarian to get this one done via decision. And let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see heavyweights here. Kennedy Nzechukwu takes on Ovince St Preux. This is an interesting one for me because it's kind of a tricky one to call until you start factoring a few intangibles, right? Ovince St Preux is shorter in this matchup with a shorter reach, and that is not something he's used to. So that is something to take into account. He's 6'3" with an 80-inch reach, whereas he's going against Nzechukwu, who is 6'5" with an 83-inch reach. Ovince St Preux is typically going to be the longer, rangier fighter in his fights. This time he is not. He's also older by about 9 years, at 40 years old as opposed to 31 for Nzechukwu. Interesting there because 40 years old usually is a scary number for a fighter, but at 205 pounds, you can kind of get by a little bit better with that. But either way, Ovens, good striker. I mean, the guy's got tons of power, and he does counters very well. When guys come in on him, and because he's usually pretty low output, so while he's sitting there kind of just chilling, and eventually you're backing him up, and he maybe throws a single shot here and there, but you're backing him up, all of a sudden, boom, that one single shot puts you down. He does have good counters, and he does have good power, but the single shots and the output is a reason that he doesn't usually win on scorecards. When it comes, at least lately, when it comes to his grappling, the dude's very opportunistic in his submissions, and that St Preux choke, which is what he's called it because, well, you know what? He's gotten a lot of them, is very good for him. I don't think he's going to have to worry about that, or I don't think he's going to be able to get that in this matchup because I don't think that we're going to get into that situation. But if he does, the St Preux choke is there for him because that is something he is a master of, as crazy as that is to sound. Decent takedowns as well. Honestly, I think we're getting a striking fight, but I'm pointing these things out just in case. Nzechukwu, like I said, he's got the physical intangibles, the youth and the size. He's got good striking. Power is there. The knees up the middle are awesome. He does that very well, but his volume's not very good, and I'm starting to wonder about his durability. Dude got knocked flat in his last matchup, and that is rough to take. How is he going to bounce back from that? Especially against a guy that's a power striker. So you have that concern. Does have good takedown defense, which is why I don't really think we're getting on the mat because I don't think he's shooting the takedown. But he does have opportunistic subs as well. We've seen him snatch up necks and choke people out even from the standing position. He's also kind of inconsistent, and that's not something I like to bet on. But in this matchup, honestly, Kennedy should win this fight. He's not my most confident pick on the card, as crazy as that is to say, considering he's like a minus 500 favorite or better. But I do think he gets it done, and a lot of it's just because Ovens isn't quite what we thought what he used to be. Let's put it that way. OSP is not what he used to be, and because of that, I got to go with Kennedy and Nzechukwu. It's just too far into the career for St Preux. Let me know what you have. I'm probably going to guess you have Nzechukwu, but let me know, and I'll get a welterweight matchup between Bryan Battle and Ange Loosa. Loosa's 3-2 in his last 5, 4-1 for Battle. Big height and reach disadvantage on the Loosa side. He's only 5'10 with a 74-inch reach compared to Battle's 6'1", 77-inch reach. When we look at Ange Loosa, the guy's a good striker, right? He's got good volume, and he really sticks that jab out there. He's durable, and he showed that he's durable by getting hit a lot, getting wobbled, and not falling down. He's like a weeble. Dude gets hit, gets wobbled, doesn't fall down. Power isn't exactly there for him. He's not getting a lot of knockouts, right? He doesn't. He can accumulatively, land strikes, land volume, and maybe break guys down that way. But he doesn't have much power for a guy that looks like he has a ton of power. When it comes to the wrestling, he's decent there, heavy on top. That's his best weapon, is getting on top and just laying there and just controlling and landing ground and pound because he does have good ground and pound. His takedown defense is pretty good as well. But on the other side, he's fighting Bryan Battle. Bryan Battle is a good striker with plenty of volume as well. He's got good combinations. He puts his punches and kicks together very well. We saw that when he put out Takashi Sato, but not just in that instance. That's just the most famous one. He puts those punches and kicks together, walks guys down, uses his range pretty well. That brutal head kick he's got. His striking defense isn't very good either, but he's also durable. He's also like a weeble. The guy doesn't fall down. He gets wobbled. He doesn't fall, right? That's what he does. Both of these guys, neither guy falls down, but they both get hurt. Good grappling for Bryan Battle. He's really quick to attack the chokes, and I think that's probably his best bet upon the entry of Loosa. If Loosa shoots a takedown, Battle probably goes for that choke and sprawl at the same time, right? You go for the front choke as you kick your legs back to do the sprawl. He's going to have the better cardio here, I do believe. And honestly, guys, I don't know how Bryan Battle loses this fight. I think he's the better fighter pretty much everywhere, except for maybe like takedown defense, because Loosa's got better takedown defense by far. But I think Bryan Battle's better everywhere else. I feel like he should have been minus 300 when I saw the line. I was surprised that he was only minus 145 when I first got him. I think Bryan Battle wins this all day. I'm taking Bryan Battle. Maybe I'm crazy. You guys can come back to this video and tell me I'm an idiot if I'm wrong and Loosa pulls it off. But I think Bryan Battle is going to finish on Loosa, and I think he's probably going to make it look pretty easy. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments below. I love your opinions, especially when they contradict mine, because it gets us going back and forth, so that's always fun. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, folks, here it is, the main event of the evening, and if you haven't done it yet, please do me a solid. Just scroll on down, hit that like button. I do appreciate it. It's something you could do to help the channel. It doesn't even cost you a penny. Totally free for you, and it helps me out quite a bit. The algorithm thanks you. I thank you. YouTube thanks you for engaging in this video. Now, let's break down the main event. Tuivasa takes on Marcin Tybura in the main event at heavyweight, in the heavyweight division at 265 pounds. Guys, if you remember earlier, I said there was a couple of fights where I keep going back and forth on my picks. This is one of them. And let me tell you why. It's because both guys have clear paths to victory. We're going to highlight these paths. We're going to break them down, and I'm going to tell you why I've made my decision in this video. But yeah, this is a tricky one. It's trickier than a lot of people are making out to be. Marcin Tybura, good wrestler, right? He's got very heavy top pressure. He's a good just cage push and grind you out, and that's how he's going to win fights. Be a grinder, wear guys down. Sure, maybe he'll get a late finish, but he's just going to grind you out and win fights down the stretch. Decent striking. Yeah, he sticks the jab. Sometimes he's willing to engage a little bit in the pocket. But honestly, this is his path to victory, because if he starts doing this, he's playing into Tuivasa's strengths. Tuivasa, very good in the striking department. He's got tons of pressure. You know, he's got that heavy leg kick, and he's got a ton of lights out power. Because Tuivasa, when he starts coming forward, this guy can strike with some of the better guys in the division, at least for a while. He does not like the body kicks, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of that from Tybura in this matchup. If he gets you up against the cage, though, his offensive cage push, now in the grappling department, he's not very good. But up against the cage, dude's got nasty elbows. I think that's his best spot in the entire fight. So, like, for example, if Tybura gets this up against the cage and somehow gets it reversed, Tuivasa is going to elbow this dude's lights out. But if Tybura gets him up against the cage and he's wearing on Tuivasa for maybe a round and a half, 2 rounds go by, Tuivasa's dead in the water. I'm going to take Tuivasa, and I don't know if maybe I'm biased, but I'm not going to bet this fight. Do not bet this fight, guys. I can't do it. I don't trust it. Maybe you can bet this fight if you can get one guy if you can get Tybura as the underdog, which I believe he is, and Tuivasa inside the distance at like plus 100 or something like that, or even by knockout at plus 100. Because I don't think Tuivasa's winning a decision in this fight. Because I think if he lands enough shots on on Tybura, that he'd be winning the fight. He probably got the knockout. So you could probably play it like that, but you might as well just not play it. Kick your feet up on the coffee table, crack open a nice cold root beer, and enjoy the show. And guys, if you haven't gotten the t-shirt that depicts that very action, you can get it at 138mma.company.site. The link is in the description of this video. Get yourself a shirt, or you can get one with my ugly mug on it. If you want my ugly face on a t-shirt, you can do that. I've even got one that has a nice big logo right in the middle. It's a good conversation starter, right? Do that. So if you like starting conversations with people, wear a shirt with my ugly face on it, and somebody's going to say something, I promise you. But either way, I'll take Tuivasa. I don't feel good about it. If I switch this pick, I will let you guys know. If I do switch, this is probably one that is on the fence. This one and the one I mentioned earlier. So let me know where you're at. I'll see you guys, I guess not even in the next fight. I'll see you guys some other time down the road. Have a good week. Let's cash some tickets, and let's have some fun. See you guys there.